each truck has a fuel card. So I can actually go in, hit a button, and it prints out the whole month or the whole year. I can just hand it to the treasurer showing each time we made a purchase. So she's aware and she can match all the records.
Tells you who drew it,
Yeah.
how much, and the truck.
So this money is for the software license? You said you already have the software?
We bought the software.
Okay.
And will actually pay for that for the next year. So the $3,775 is
The license to
the
the
license for each year. Yep. So, and what's nice is if I have to, I can access it all from home. It's not at the station. So if I need to do research or something, I can actually go in, look at calls. If somebody calls me and says they need a report, I can actually go in at home and I can send over the reports to them.
Thought you didn't go home.
There are days I do not. So there are some days I do go home. Technology, this basically pays for like the data plans for iPads and any of the cell phone usage and stuff like that from the department. Medical director, that was eliminated last year. And the reason we eliminated the medical director is because we pay subscription dues to Atlantic Partners EMS, which covers the paramedics and the ambulance services in Maine. And they actually provide a medical director for you. So basically, they were paying $5,000 for a medical director for Lebanon, but Atlantic Partners provides it for the service fees for the year, like $1,200 something dollars. So why pay double when you can, or pay more? So we're at hydrants, as you know, there's only limited hydrants in Lebanon, and that's over on River Road. So that's the rental fee agreement. It's like 100-year rental agreement or something. So paramedic intercept, that is still in there. There are days that I am out of town, I can't make every call. So that covers fees for calling either, right now, basically that covers fees for calling Sanford. Sanford is the only one that charges us for paramedic intercepts. And we've only used them twice for paramedic intercepts this year. So.
Huge difference.
We have called Frisbee. Frisbee has been more than willing to come over and be a paramedic intercept for us. There's certain things that they can do, even if a paramedic's on scene. Technically, right now, we had a call where we need to do a rapid sequence intubation, which is basically sticking the tube down the throat for airway maintenance. We are not allowed to do that in the state of Maine, but Frisbee can. So it's easy for them to come over, help us out. Rumor has it they're going to start charging for paramedic intercepts, but it's not gonna be a huge fee. I think I heard like $175,
Oh,
but I'm not sure,
per call?
per paramedic call. I think they've come over 10 times,
That's cheap.
so.
Yeah, but I think they've been telling us that for about 3 years now
Yeah.
too, that they,
Been a while.
haven't they? We've been hearing that for about 3 years.
Yeah, and plus right now, we don't know where that's gonna go because Portsmouth Hospital has bought out Frisbee.
Who is?
Portsmouth,
Wow.
They're all part of HCA.
yeah,
Really?
yeah.
I didn't
So-
know that.
And we don't know if they're gonna have a actual hospital-based ambulance or not.
Portsmouth Hospital?
Oh,
So
Was part of a change,
Are
so
they back?
HCA is
Yes,
big.
I know. I know.
we've been actually doing a lot of transports to
Oh,
Dover
yeah.
lately, so people have been going to Weymouth Douglas, so.
Southern Maine.
No. Yeah,
Billing fees, the more calls that we do, the more billing that they do, which increases the billing fees.
that's a lot of money, isn't it?
Yeah, they charge 6.75%. And that, right now, that's the only one basically around that charges that. So, there might be another company that we need to investigate, but,
Is this the same place that we've had all along?
yeah. I did go down to meet with them back a few months ago. And in the same time period last year, last fiscal budget, to, in the same time period, this fiscal budget, we've had a $50,000 increase due to correct billing through the run reports. So a lot of the billing from the run reports previously were not billed correctly. They were, if they called for a ambulance and 2 basic EMTs show up and they call for a paramedic, they were still getting billed at the basic EMT rate instead of the paramedic rate. So there's an increase because everyone's starting to code their run reports correctly. And the billing company has said that our run reports have increased 100% better from previous.
So are you self-sustaining or close to it?
Ambulance-wise,
Yeah.
last year, I think we brought in 195,000, I can't remember,
Yeah, right around there.
so.
Yeah, I'm sure what self-sustaining.
Means that they're bringing in as much revenue as it's costing, the revenue and their expenses, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right, I mean, it's not yet.
we, almost, I would say, because you figure the 196 would pay the actual, pay for the manpower, the wages and stuff like that. But as we go along and increase with calls and the right billing choices and stuff like that, I think maybe in a few years, we might be self-sustaining for just wages but equipment-wise,
So much.
no.
The board continues to review charges. And just like healthcare costs go up, so we can bill higher amounts.
Right.
So we look at, and the billing company will get us what the going rates are out there so that we can then make sure that we're not undercharging,
Right.
which has happened in the past. It's been forgotten about and
Oh, I know.
so.
Dues and subscriptions, that covers Atlantic Partners EMS, which is our medical director. That also covers chiefs associations. It covers community mutual aid, which we pay $1,000 every year to be part of that. That gives us our mandated air pack tests that we have to have every year for facial fits and stuff like that for the air pack. So that covers a lot of the dues and subscriptions, and that covers the machines and stuff like that.
I only have 3 on this.
What do you mean?
Oh, on the town one?
Right.
Yeah, the 3225 is actually what I've finally been able to add up, because we didn't have an actual figure from the year before.
The previous budget was only 3.
Yeah,
Oh, always.
31.
31.
Got the wrong.
So this went up an additional 125.
What?
Dues and
I actually may have a misprint here, so I've got 7,000,
7,000 it says.
so that's wrong, isn't it?
Yep,
Yep. That's a finger. So what is that supposed to be?
3225.
Okay. Everybody see that?
3225, yeah, that's on his budget, yeah.
So if you're looking at the town one with the, which is like 49.
$7,000, that's quite a difference.
That's me just
Double.
typing, that's me putting it in.
More than double.
Are you talking dues and subscriptions?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
The last one in that, category, medical physical, each person who comes in the department now must, have a physical. And also depending on what age the person is, they have to have, some have to have a physical every year, some have to have a physical every 2 years.
you didn't have to have physicals before?
No, not years ago.
Really?
Now they're mandating it because of the hair pack, squaring and facial features, and history of health, and so on. So now I think, I'd like to have you guys read this next section before we discuss it. So,
Do you have numbers for the CIPs that we set up last year? You had 5 different ones.
I haven't-
What you're looking for.
I haven't yet because of how this works out.
Alright. About that.
It could be, or we could skip a year, work on this. So it's just kinda.
Do you have bulletproof vests for the ambulances?
What's that now?
You need bulletproof vests for the ambulances?
You're responding to domestic violence calls?
Yeah, suicidal people,
Hmm.
guns.
Yep.
So is this what you're looking to spend per year or just this year?
Just this year.
So just to put in the CIP.
This is just
There's already a
Good referendum.
CIP for that.
possible. So, and this is why we need to discuss it, and I think I need guidance and advice before I can actually give you a final on this. I know some of it seems far-fetched, but today's society is not far-fetched anymore.
Just on the overnight fire and EMS coverage, you're looking for that above the budget for overnight fire and EMS?
This is one person at the station.
And you didn't include that in the
Not, 'cause I
budget?
felt that should go to referendum possibly.
And this is a medic, obviously, medic level, right?
Yes, if we can get a medic, and if not, then it'll go to the next level down.
So what did you include in your budget?
That's just what we currently have
Night
going on.
coverage.
But not, that would be, that line item would be eliminated for one person. And that would be only covered by one person.
And then you'd have a medic
Then you
at
have
the
somebody.
station?
Yep.
Where would they stay?
Well, we're working on that.
Okay.
But you're
Okay,
only, when you get rid of that, you're only getting rid of stipend, you're not getting rid of the call hours. You're just lumping that same,
Right,
so as long as you take the number and divide it by two,
just divide it.
well, you can't, because it's, you're not, the call hours will still be billed there.
Right,
Only the stipend is only the $50 and $70 stipend that you're getting.
Yes.
That's 1%.
yes.
Isn't that all that he put in there though?
Those aren't those also call hours or not?
No,
Those are not considered call
no,
hours,
that's just the stipend.
stipend.
Okay. So then yes,
So are these new line items that you're looking at adding?
Now, this is something that I'd like to discuss and get guidance and advice, to add to as a referendum questions.
Chief, the video,
The learn to scope,
yeah, thank you. That's not the, you had just said a few minutes ago that Maine, you couldn't do that in Maine, is this what you're talking?
this is actually totally different.
Oh, okay.
So basically, when they do a, when I said RSI, the rapid sequence innovation, is they can actually give certain medications to snow the patient totally, and be able to do an intubation to protect the airway. This one is if we have a difficult airway, like somebody who's going into anaphylaxis, or somebody who's in cardiac arrest who has a larger throat, or but yet smaller airways, you can actually physically see where the tube's going. Right now, we are allowed to do intubations, but we actually physically have to manipulate the jaw and the neck. With this, we really don't have to, because it's an actual video, and you go in and then you're able to insert the tube.
Thank you.
I happened to be part of the pilot program for that when it came to the state of Maine. And I used it in Westbrook when I did my ride time for my paramedic. And that was some of the easiest things I was able to perform on a difficult task. And the state of Maine has finally approved it for the whole state. So I don't know if you wanna talk about each area first and go from there. Like I said, I'm asking for advice and guidance. You all have lived in town for years, you know the town, you know how things are. I'm not trying to make this as I need this, as in if I don't get it, I'm gonna take my ball and go home. I wanna work with the committee, I wanna work with the select board, I wanna work with the citizens, just to make sure we get the right services for everybody. So fire gear, currently, right now, we have bought 6 sets of gear in a year. So last budget, we bought 4, this budget, we bought 2 so far. This gear is actually, it's actually custom fit for each person. They come in, they measure everybody, they put on certain sizes gear, and it's, like I said, it's tailored to that person. We bought 6 sets, I'd like to purchase an additional 10, to get better coverage and newer gear. Some of this older gear that we can take out from the actual front line now and use it for new people coming in who don't have the full experience of some of the people that have now, or the training. We have people that are coming into the department and we don't have enough gear to get them in classes, certified, and so on.
What's the cost per set?
Do we have a breakdown on all these costs?
I can have it for you if need be. Right now, I don't have it here with me, but I can tell you that just the coat and pants are around $1,700. So if you add a helmet, which is between 250 to 325, then you have hoods, which are particulate hoods to help keep the actual particulates from the cancer, from the fires going in. That's an additional $100. Gloves are about 75 to 100. Boots are about 325. So by the time you outfit somebody, it's probably close to $2,500 just for the fire gear. That's not including the air packs or anything like that.
I'm just thinking that, altogether, this is a lot of money, and obviously, we're not gonna be able to do this all at
Correct.
once. But if we had a breakdown,
Yep, and that's why I kind of came for guidance and
yeah, we
advice.
could maybe figure out what
Yep.
absolutely are the priorities and what
Yep.
aren't.
Yep,
Did we put money in a CIP for,
we
For gear
did, but
last
there's
year?
not enough.
how much is in there?
There's only like maybe $1,000 or $2,000.
$1,000 bucks.
That's only one set. Not even a set.
Not even a
full
set, right?
So,
Yeah,
So is that 2543? The account,
Where are you?
fire EMS equipment,
So this is not, no, what he's showing here is over and
it's
above
over and above the budget.
that.
so this is a new line item.
yeah.
No,
So this is-
A new
it's a new
referendum question.
referendum. Yeah, sorry.
I did
Referendum.
ask that,
Yeah.
and the answer was no, so.
And he doesn't have.
Right, because it's not a new, in the
I
budget, it's a
said,
new
was it a
referendum.
new, or is it exist, anyway,
Yeah.
So he doesn't
Sorry.
have
So-
CIP numbers of the old ones that we started last year, I think it was like 5 of them that we started up. Last year, SCBA, fire equipment, fire
that's
truck,
on here,
right,
Yeah.
those are what we started last year, is my
Right.
point.
okay,
He hasn't done those, cause it kinda depends on this. So they all kinda work hand in hand. These, in an ideal world, he'd love to put a referendum item to say, I wanna spend 50,500 on fire EMS gear. Vote in favor or vote against, in an ideal world, which, but that's what he's saying is he needs to, he's asking for advice on how this is what he needs, how to work it out, how to do.
So we need a breakdown, and we need to decide with you what's imperative and what isn't.
Right. So, I mean, I can get the breakdown too, and, down a little further at the bottom of that, fire and EMS gear, we're not buying everything from one specific vendor, we are actually price shopping. So,
But you can give ballparks.
yes,
Well, could you, I mean, how long would it take you to get those numbers together so we knew what you wanted to spend?
it'll be sometime next week.
Oh, but you can get it to us before we have to.
Yeah.
so we have the first week in March that covers CIP, so we can revisit it at that point.
Okay,
So if we have numbers before then, that would be good, we don't have a
Yep.
meeting on the 20th,
Right,
so we meet next week on roads. I can't remember what we're doing on the 27th.
I can have it for you probably later in the week. I'm out for surgery, tomorrow, so. And then,
You don't wanna do it after?
no, not right away. So I should be able to, yeah. So I should be, yeah, I should be able to be in the office on desk duty, hopefully Monday, so,
Are you gonna find people to do the overnight coverage? You're
yeah,
saying it's hard now, but
yeah, we should be able to cover. So, I have one guy who basically covers every single night from
Yeah,
home.
but you're a paramedic.
He's not, he's a
He's not,
basic EMT.
Nick.
If you're gonna put a paramedic in,
That's-
I mean, that's,
That's what we're
Seven
trying to
day-
do, yeah,
so you're gonna need at least, what, 2 or 3 different additional ones, or?
probably more, just to cover.
so this is on top of the $40 and the 50 and
So
70.
if we hire them to come in and do overnight coverage, they won't get a stipend. They will just get their normal hour pay.
That's why,
This includes, this is an hourly pay for people who's.
Correct.
that's why he was saying if that went through, then that 40,000 on the other thing, on this page, this 40,000 would decrease,
That
right?
would decrease
So what did they get per hour, whatever
their hourly rate,
their level is?
Are you figuring 21 still?
21,
How'd you come up with that figure?
because they're paramedic and they're firefighter 1 or 2.
I mean, how'd you come up with the 75?
So you gotta pay them $21 an hour, So it's 5 nights right now, a week, at 21 or 40 times 21 times 40. And then you have,
840, then you got the 2 nights of 504. 1,344. Plus you've done away with one of the
yeah,
other guys, we had 3.
I didn't remove that other guy as of yet,
I mean, that would,
right,
you wouldn't need him if you.
Correct.
You had that, so it'd be $1,734 a week, which would come up to 90,168, which would be $49,608 more than what you got now, so. I just don't know where you come up with 75.
maybe my calculations are off on that one, I apologize if it
No,
is.
I just was.
But I thought I was on.
I didn't have a chance to read this fully, but are you looking at maybe just one person in it?
One person for
One.
the time being. And the reason why, currently now, we get a call, the person has to respond from home. Or, they have to respond from home. So that could be 10 minutes before the ambulance gets out the door, or maybe a little bit longer. And then depending on where the call is in town, that's an additional 10, 15, depending on if they're out on the Milton line. So that's 25 minutes, then, or it could be potential 25 minutes by the time they get there. And then you add a couple more minutes on top of that, because by the time dispatch gets the call and actually hits the tones for it to go out, could be an additional 2 or 3 minutes. So that's almost 25, 30 minutes before an ambulance could get on scene.
Chief, do we still have that automatic mutual aid agreement with Milton that we,
We do, but not on every call, only calls that are
certain ones.
serious calls,
So this here is just to pay one person.
one person.
So what's he gonna do? Say there's a fire. He's gonna grab the fire truck and do what?
He's gonna head out with the fire truck, and the people that live at home gonna meet him on scene.
Like you said, nobody lives in town that's on the fire department anymore. It's
Well, we do have
a
9,
minimum.
right, we do have like 9 people in town, that's it.
But at least you'd have one person who,
We should have
At
one
the
that
station.
can get a truck there and maybe put some
You can't
water
go
on
inside
it.
the house.
No, but you can spray from outside, if you have to.
It's the same with the ambulance. You grab the ambulance and who's gonna work on the patient while you're driving the ambulance?
Well, the other person's coming from home.
well, give them double and have 2 people.
Right,
I'm not gonna go that far.
the ideal is you have a paramedic who hops in the ambulance when he gets the call, goes to the scene, and renders care immediately while waiting for the other person to show
Somebody
up.
meets him
Once the
on
person
scene,
shows
instead of
up,
going,
then they can transport with the paramedic in the back and the driver in the driver's seat. That's essentially, that's the plan.
the idea.
And the thing is you can get paramedics love to take 12-hour shifts. So again, talking about coverage, they can get somebody here, and they could even do a 24-hour shift. A lot of them do 24-hour shifts, do 12 hours in the day and do 12 hours at night.
Would you make sure that they were,
I love 24 to 36 hours personally.
you do?
Yes, I did.
would you make sure that they were EMS as well as fire?
They would have to be. Yeah, I used to do 24, 36 hours. Some days I was there for 72 hours, depending on.
That's the racket in the EMS paramedic field, is they do these 24, 36-hour shifts. Because if you think about it, you got 2 days, you could take a day off and do
Right.
another 24 and you just put in, that's what
2
they're,
days a week.
that's what they're looking for. So that's where they're all, so they're not gonna come here for just 12 hours.
They're assured the coverage.
Right.
So, can you get us the balances for what we have for CIPs?
Yeah, here we are.
You have them, or do
Yeah,
you have them?
I have,
No.
Okay, we don't have
That's what
them,
I haven't given them to you yet.
okay. Okay,
So-
you were gonna say,
So so part of the fire gear aspect of it, also is 5 sets of EMS gear. We have some people who are not fire certified and don't really care to be, and don't wanna go in burning buildings. That's their choice. We can't make them. So they have to have some type of, flash fire protection, just in case a car accident and something happens. So, and I know this sounds far-fetched, bulletproof vests. 4 of them, 1 for each 2 for each ambulance. And as you know, all over the country, there's shootings, schools, malls, all this, and it does happen in small towns. But recently, we respond to more and more domestic violence calls.
It's big on that.
Yeah, so
Wouldn't have anything to do with alcohol.
Now, can you guys carry in the ambulance?
as of right now, no,
So nobody can.
nobody carries. So
Is there a
there's,
reason why?
right, because we can't legally right now,
Really?
yeah,
Even if you have a personal concealed carry, you can't carry?
not on an ambulance,
How about a fire truck?
no.
Okay.
Well, some towns up Maine used to carry shotguns in their trucks to ventilate. They would shoot the windows out to get the fire out of the building. They'd shoot the window out, so. Isn't that?
It'll ventilate.
So,
I call a rescue.
yeah. Yeah, so, and like I said, more and more, we're getting into situations, we're going into places that are actually a lot of heroin, drugs. We don't know what we're gonna get ourselves into sometimes.
No, we have no idea how people are gonna
Now,
react.
do you have to stage until the city shows up?
We do when we
you
listen
know
to
it.
dispatch, sometimes we don't get the right information. So that's why I kinda said 4 bulletproof vests, if I asked for 20 sets, I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be nuts, but, 4, I thought would be sufficient for the time being to at least give some type of protection to some of the responders. We actually have some of the responders who bought their own.
I would buy my own.
So, there's one company out there that's offering a deal. A price of a vest and you can pay it off in 2 months. So every 2 weeks, they want you to make a payment. So,
I just think that those are probably the worst calls ever. You just have no idea how people are gonna react
no, you don't.
in the heat of passion.
So, I mean, and we deal with a lot of people.
Is that what they call domestic violence now?
Yeah.
Call it, yeah.
So a lot of times we deal with people who are either drugs or alcohol or
Misplaced passion.
whatever, so.
There you go, better.
So that's why, I've included just 4 vests. For
How
some
much
type
is
of
a vest, do you know?
They range from $325 to $800 and something.
Did the state police ever have, I hate to use it, but any used one?
Any used ones.
So, I mean, they have to.
Oh, it's a roll here and
That's
there.
sometimes.
It's like saying go up the dump and take an old mattress and cut it.
So,
I
yeah,
know how to sew.
Paint it with the cat mouth.
so I mean, I would imagine they
You
do,
know what I
but
mean.
after so long, those vests get used because depending on how they sit, how they form to their bodies, they creases.
But I imagine that they have to replace this on a time frame, and they
Right.
must still have some good used ones that maybe did. Want me to call it?
So, yeah. So I don't think I wanna wear a smelly vest for years. Somebody else's sweat, but yeah, I mean, it's,
Head in my body.
Plus, they're not one size fits all either, right?
there's a company out there that makes them one size fits all, and those are $825,
Right, that's-
so.
Won't fit Jessica.
Which one? We have 2 of them, so.
Yeah, but
They're both small.
They're both small, yeah.
So, I mean, they do fit smaller people, they do fit larger people, they just have a lot of extra Velcro. So,
I guess.
yeah. So, I don't have my own, but I will be purchasing my own anyways. But,
We've got like 5 more minutes, so
yes.
medical equipment,
Medical equipment, the big ticket item is a stretcher. We need a new power stretcher. We have one stretcher that's actually manual. We do not know if it's gonna fail while a patient's on it and doesn't catch the lock. And if it doesn't catch the lock, it could go down. If somebody's complaining of back pain, there's gonna be a lot more back pain. So right now, we have one stretcher that was retrofitted, that we can use for the new ambulance coming in. And we'll be able to use it in the other truck as well, that doesn't have the power loading system that we purchased. So, but that can be used in both ambulances. A new stretcher, if we purchase a new stretcher, we could also use it in both ambulances. But the old ones just it's too old, unfortunately. There's certain things that you say, hey, age is great, and some things you say age is not good.
What did they have at my house the
Didn't
other
we
day?
talk about this last year?
Yes,
That
we
was
did,
actually the
that's
new
what I'm
one.
saying, I thought that was the
That
new
was the
one.
new retro-
And I
that was
thought
a
the
great
ambulance was
retrograde.
coming with one.
Not a stretcher, it comes with a loader,
The power loader.
power loader,
Which is part of the
But
ambulance.
not a
comes
stretcher.
in.
right.
So what is,
We're gonna use the
can you
existing
explain-
power
I'm sorry.
structure that we have for this one.
explain that difference to
So-
me, because I thought we were all set with that system.
No, because if we bought the stretcher and the loader, that was 40 additional thousand.
Okay,
So if we bought the loader itself, which is the piece that stays and mounted in the ambulance, is built into the ambulance,
right,
through the manufacturer, that's what we purchased.
so what does that do without the stretcher, nothing?
That does nothing unless you put a stretcher into it.
Prices
And
so
our upgraded stretcher that we just did
Right.
will work with that.
inflated.
And then we have nothing for
And-
the other ambulance,
No, we have two stretchers. We have one manual stretcher for one ambulance, and we have
You're
a,
gonna go.
but we don't have a power stretcher
We don't
for
have a
the other
power-
ambulance,
right.
and that's what you need.
yep.
Okay,
So this price here is just for the stretcher.
The price, no, the price for the stretcher I got the other day, and it's 25 something, I believe. Unfortunately, it's expensive,
yeah,
like everything else used.
well,
for
that
that,
one was too, I think,
So,
22, I think you keep it out.
the old one is rated 500 pounds, this new one, if we purchased it, 700 pounds.
100.
It's actually charges inside the system, the actual, ambulance, as soon as you push it in and it locks in, the batteries start charging. So,
How much did you say?
I believe it's right around 25.
Oh, 25,000.
5,000, yes, sorry.
I did write
2,500, we'll buy a couple.
I think 10 of them.
Yeah. So, and it's an electric hydraulic. So, and they run off like big DeWalt batteries. But when we tried to replace the batteries, I said, they used to be built by DeWalt. I said, why don't we just buy a new DeWalt? And Stryker said, which is the proprietary for stretcher, said, oh no, they're special batteries now, you can't do that. So,
For the dog.
Okay, so this cost, what else does it?
So the other parts were, we have IV pumps now that are not working properly. So there's certain medications that we have to administer through an IV pump.
Okay.
Those together with the drug library, which is required, was $5,000 and like $150.
How old are the ones now?
What's that?
How old are the ones you got
The
now?
ones we have now, I think were purchased when Ray Parent was here
Now he's talking about these a year or two.
now. So they were purchased, I believe, from what Deputy Harmon was saying, those were purchased when Ray Parent was here, which, so that was probably 2012, 2000. The other part was the video laryngoscope that we talked about real quick.
Yep.
And then the overnight coverage for EMS.
So the scopes, how?
The scopes actually we were looking at two, one for each ambulance, and I believe it was just over 5,000, so it was like $5,500 roughly.
For both, for two.
For two.
And of course, if you only have it in one, you never know which one you're gonna need it in.
Yeah, I mean, we could put it in one truck and then the other truck goes on the call instead of the new truck, or, so.
So you're gonna get exact numbers for
So
it?
I will get all the exact numbers, I will, email them to Lynn, and I'll have Lynn give them to you guys,
Yeah.
so.
These three things here are 160,440.
Yeah, and that's why I said, to be fiscally responsible to the town, I'm trying, but we are in desperate need of equipment, unfortunately.
So,
160,440.
I'll ask you on my own about that, cause I didn't talk about it, so I won't.
I will get you more definitive numbers on each part,
Okay.
each,
Yeah, then we can talk about what we wanna do.
but like I said, I wanted guidance and advice. bounced ideas off Chip as well and said, how do I do this? And,
Don't worry, we'll give it to you.
yeah, thanks. So,
So we'll reschedule to go back over the CIP in March.
March first?
Yeah,
Okay,
probably.
alright.
Maybe more than one session,
Right, right.
I'm just saying.
Well, we did leave the last two,
Yeah, we have time.
covering those, right.
More,
Revenue, oh,
yeah,
yes.
cause I didn't hear you say
Yes,
that, and I think that might be
And
helpful.
I've had, I don't know if you guys, and Deb brought this up and I was gonna mention it eventually. I had brought to the board, the select board about, doing calls for Lifeline. There's times where Lifeline cannot get up in the air
Right.
because of weather. So they depend on local services depending on where the patient is. Last week, they had a call from York that needed to go to Brigham and Women's, and they couldn't find anybody. And these are critical care patients that need to go down. Lifeline does not bill any of the patient at all. They just provide the service, and the ambulance company who does the transport gets all the billing. So we would send one person in the spare ambulance, and we would get the total billing. We just go pick up the Lifeline crew, we go to the hospital, pick up the patient, and then they go. So that is quite an increase with critical care transports for financial wise.
So I was thinking their revenue is gonna be, will be increasing with that service to Lifeline, you know, which could be,
That's expensive.
yeah. So I was just thinking, like, if we know that as a town that their revenue will be increasing, I don't think it,
But do you wanna put a
How many
driver
calls
at
would you
risk?
get though?
What's that?
Do you really wanna put a driver at risk? Like if Lifeline can't
Fly, yep,
fly because it's snowing or
yep.
pouring, or do you really wanna put a driver in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, we do our regular calls.
But you're not going to Boston or.
No, but we might have a trauma and have to drive to Portland. So,
or
or
Portsmouth.
Portsmouth.
We can always turn it down, so it's a
Yeah,
call.
I can, call by call basis, I can say no. But we wouldn't send two people, we'd send one, and it wouldn't be any of the guys on duty, it'd be the guys, somebody from home that would be willing to
Cause the
go.
Lifeline guys are in the back, if I remember.
Yep, and they bring all their own equipment.
So is this something they're asking of the departments?
Right now, they use Kennebunk and they use Wells down in this general area. If they can't get any of those guys, then they're out of luck.
And
And
use their equipment? Everything?
they come in with all their medical equipment in their bags, they use all their equipment, they don't use anything out of our truck, except for a driver and the stretcher.
But are they using our truck?
They use our truck, we drive it,
But that means that that truck's not available to the town.
correct.
That's why we use our.
That's why we use the spare ambulance.
When do we have one?
Yeah, right.
We will soon.
They wouldn't use Northeast or any of them?
They've been calling Northeast can't get crews a lot of the time.
AMR?
AMR doesn't work up here anymore.
What's one on Scarborough?
That's Northeast.
That's what,
There's American Ambulance also,
Right.
but they don't do critical care transports.
How many calls would that amount to you?
It could be 10 a year, it could be 5, we don't know yet. So,
Let's count the bucks.
right now,
I hate to damp it down, but
Another one being
even though there are gonna be more revenues, when we do commitment, without knowing what any of those revenues are,
Right.
the
Right,
board isn't gonna use, we're not gonna say, oh, we're thinking they're gonna do 20,000 and add the
right,
extra
right,
20.
cause we don't know.
So, this next coming year, assume no additional revenue, cause we're not gonna,
Right.
the board isn't gonna use, we use a conservative revenue number to begin with.
Yeah.
So without any kind of a track record. It's just not-
and right now, our highest billing is what we call ALS2, which is what we use for, like, if I give more than 3 medications, then that's considered ALS2. So they get a certain price for that, so it's like 3,000 something just for ALS2, and then it could be more because of actual mileage to the hospital,
Yeah.
and then oxygen use. So that's like 3,000 and something. With Life Flight, using critical care skills and their stuff like that, that's like a $4,000 for 4,500.
Those guys don't get anything.
They do not, because they can't actual
Cause they
fly.
can't fly.
Right?
So we don't pay them nothing?
We don't pay them a thing. I know, it's
Using all
strange.
their equipment.
So if you were driving clear to Boston in a blizzard, do you have chains for the,
We-
for the ambulances?
The new ambulance coming in is four-wheel drive, the other ambulance has chains,
Okay.
and we just had them repaired,
Question.
so those chains work.
I've driven to Boston in a blizzard.
Oh,
There's,
it's
yeah, it's,
unbelievable.
But most of the time,
The drive,
Yeah.
I hate the snow like coming at you and you start
Yeah.
getting that vertigo, like you don't know
Snowblind.
where the end of the street is.
but most of the time, our transports
Yeah,
will
I
probably
hate
be like to Portland or something like that, out of Sanford or out of Rochester. They did do one a couple weeks ago, I think it was somebody else, I think it was Kenny Bunk. They picked up Life Flight crew, went to North Conway, and then North Conway over to Amed. So, and that was just because of rain.
Cause the dart was busy.
You can't, they couldn't fly, so,
Okay, we done
Yep.
with that? Okay, thank you.
no, thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
I'll see you March 1st, and
Yep.
I'll have better
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah, when I have the date, I'll
And
set it
and
up.
you're gonna get the
I'll have it
CIP,
shipped.
okay.
Can you give us the expenses on the trucks and that stuff,
On
on the trucks,
the, on the
repairs?
trucks, I can
Up
print
or
off,
down, print
I can print off everything, even fuel if you wanted it, so,
Alright, what else do we have? Thanks, Steve.
I-
no, thank you.
So Deb had a question on office equipment, why it was up from 500 to 750 for
Yeah.
codes and land
Thank you,
use.
Steve.
Third
He's
week.
been on vacation, I can't, I won't know until next week.
You too.
Okay, we have any other follow-up? Anybody?
I've got some time.
Okay. I need one more.
So that's the Southern Maine Agency on Aging, I think. That's the one for Meals on Wheels. So actually, there was a second page that they never sent us, which had the information on it, which is in this, maybe an extra one. So the email, I think, describes it as well as the letter that you see that there, it's there. There's actually a second page that has a lot of the same information on it. So that was the one that was actually missing and the one that, when we made copies that we handed out. So. So there's your answer for your.
7.
On wheels.
13, so they're down 6 from last year.
Well, and there's 39 that use other resources.
Yeah, by phone, or in person. By phone or in person.
I will mention, and the board hasn't really discussed this, but they are only asking for 1,500. And in the budget, we're giving 2,000, we went up by 2,000 last year from 1,500. So there may be a thought, the board,
So
of
we-
reducing it to 1,500, which is what they're asking for.
We went down the year before, we were giving them more money, we went down the year before because they were only doing one person Meals on Wheels,
Yeah, I
remember
don't-
that? Then they went up to 19, so we increased it to 2,000, now they're back down to 13.
So the bottom line is they're only asking for 15 and the budget that the
Right.
board put out is
Give them what they
2,000.
ask.
So there's a 500 there that we may wanna
That's fine.
reassign someplace.
Yep.
So anyway, so the select board has not discussed that yet. But we may have an update there.
Okay.
Do you have a minute for a new question, Jerry?
Yeah,
So I was curious, I hadn't heard anything on, any plans for the community forest. And we voted it in and then there was so much talk about it and then we voted it in and now we've heard nothing. Are there any plans, there was supposed to be paths out there, are there any plans for this or is there any money in the budget going to conservation?
People,
Yeah, remember all of that? There was
So we
gonna
have
be
not
all
been
that.
asked for any money from the conservation commission, so from a budget standpoint.
So they're asking for a $0 budget?
Well, no, they're part of codes and land use.
So what part of
So,
codes and
Of
land?
the,
Cause we
But my
didn't
point
talk
is-
about them
repairs,
at all in that budget.
what they were from.
So again, part of their office supplies and stuff is part of the office supplies of the whole entire thing. But they have not asked for any increased numbers from previous years for projects of anything. So
Could we find out if, cause that was part of all voting it in as a community forest, is there was
again,
supposed to
that doesn't
be.
have anything to do with the budget. The budget is the budget amount. If you wanna know what they're doing with it, you can certainly reach out to the conservation commission and ask.
Okay,
I mean, as far as I know,
Never
they could be
mind.
doing paths and having volunteers do that, and it doesn't cost any money.
Right,
And then maybe, I don't know, I don't know specific to that as far as budget related to that.
is there,
There's been no request for additional funds.
did you already
for
do
the
their
town
budget?
budget. So they're part of codes and land use, which we already did,
Oh, you already did it, okay,
so yeah, but that's,
okay.
but the money for them is, the money requested
there's
in that
not a line,
budget for
there's not a
the
line
zero.
item for conservation commission. In that, in other words, because what they had before in their budget was like for office supplies. So that just got rolled into the overall office supply.
Okay. What else do we have?
Okay, old business,
I got a comment.
okay.
I mean, I've been here forever on this committee. And I hear the same thing, how we lose people because we're not paying them right?
Right,
And to me, that isn't even the problem. The problem is the people they hire. Like, we hire people to handle millions of dollars who have never even had that position, who never, they work at Staples or they work at Bootleggers or, they're not even qualified to like hiring positions that they're not even certified in the job that they're taking. It's not you guys' fault, because it was before you guys. But you're paying somebody $20 an hour, say, to do a job, but they're not even certified to do that job. So of course, they're using this town as a stepping stone. They're gonna get all their certifications and all that. And what do you think they're gonna do? You think they're gonna stay here for their $20 an hour? They're gonna go work for another town that's got more pay, more benefits. You see this all the time.
what specifically are you talking about?
Because I get sick of listening to the same thing, that we don't hire, we don't pay enough for this town, we're the lowest paying people in the state and all this.
So you mean
Well,
even
look-
for the
look what
money
you-
that we're
look-
paying, we're getting people that aren't qualified?
We're hiring people that ain't even qualified. I mean, you could hire somebody $30 an hour. If they're not certified to do the job that you're paying them for, it's not what
Once
you're
they
It's
get
probably true, but you gotta
It's
get
not what you're
people,
paying.
you gotta get people to apply for the
But this,
job.
I gotta finish, Jeff, because, now we're talking about, let's start our own police department, okay? Do you guys know what happened to the other police department?
Yep,
It's because we hired people, the same thing, we hired kids. I know some of them, they were behind me in school, that we hired to be cops, we gave them guns. And then when they pulled somebody over, they'd have to contact the selectmen to see what they were gonna do with them, whether they were gonna give them a ticket or not. Is that, no, was you here, Chip, when we had them? I know because my dad, some of the chiefs used to come.
I don't doubt you
The
at all.
chiefs used to come to my father's house and he used to
I didn't think so.
tell the stuff that was going on.
I don't doubt you.
So,
No.
we're talking about police departments, and to me, I watched the selectmen's meeting where we're gonna, $800 to $1 million for a police department. Is that what we really wanna do? Like this, the budgets are so blown out.
That's not so one, the.
No, I know you guys are gonna put it on and everything, but I'm just saying, yeah, but
I don't disagree.
people don't even understand why things happened in this town and what's gonna happen, like, say you three ain't here anymore, or five or whatever, and the same, it's a reciprocal, it's just gonna be the same old thing,
Let me just address, because I wanna make sure it's very, very clear. As far as qualifications and hiring of the people, I'm not gonna talk about what's happened in the past. Okay, you can say whatever you want, I don't like to talk about personnel issues and saying somebody's not qualified. Okay, but I can tell you that the people that we have hired are very qualified, and they have credentials. Okay, and so and again, the pay that we are looking at now, we are looking at what other people pay. If you're a business, you do the same thing.
Some of them work for the state,
Huh?
some have.
So again, we have, yes, I mean, we have very relevant experience. Okay, they worked in BMV departments in the state. One was a branch manager.
Right.
In a very, very large town. One of them ran a YMCA. So very, very capable people. Okay, our treasurer has a degree in accounting. I think that's very, very pertinent to that position. Now, they may not have experience as a treasurer, but she was also HR. So she has HR experience, which is again what our treasurer does. So very, very valid, okay, but the point is that if you're trying to get people with experience, it's a very limited pool.
No one's gonna apply to the job if they don't have.
Well, one, to be honest with you, in the past, a lot of times what they did is they put it out on MMA,
Yeah,
on Maine Municipal Association, and they got a very, very limited pool of applicants. And then probably, or they didn't get anybody, and then they just had to grasp the straws. And so my point is, we go out on Indeed, so we're getting new blood into the system, and we get a very good applicant pool. And so we're able to not just take the one person that's close. We just take that person, no matter who they are. We actually able to be selective and also make sure that the team that we put in place here meshes together, which is very, very important for the culture of this office, okay, because politics and small town politics sucks,
right.
okay? I don't think the tape's working, I'm sorry, so I can at least say this. It's running,
It's not
but,
working.
it's running, but it's not streaming, I don't think, I gotta figure out the problem, hopefully I can save it somehow, but anyways,
How am I gonna do minutes?
you're gonna have to remember.
I would have been taking notes off.
It would have been nice to have known before, would have taken some notes.
So you say people aren't qualified, the people that we have right now are qualified, and I just wanna make that distinction.
I wasn't saying you guys.
Okay, but the other
I'm saying in the past, but that's why we're paying more.
But the other side is that when you get somebody brand spanking new, if you do train them, but let's say you pay them as though they're brand spanking new. Well, now after they've been there for 2 years and now they are qualified, if you don't
You gotta
move
give
that
them a
pay,
raise.
Right.
guess what?
Right.
They're gonna be
They're
gone.
now qualified and they're gonna get a much higher number elsewhere,
Right.
so that's why they're leaving, cause you're not willing to move that number.
That's right.
Okay, it's no different than what we just had today with Chief. Okay, Chief didn't have any previous experience as a chief.
Right.
He had tons of fire experience, tons of EMS paramedic experience, but he had nothing as a chief.
And a diploma.
Okay, so yeah, when we hired him, he was at the low end. But now he's got experience, now he's an experienced chief, he's gonna demand a higher number. If we want him to stay, we have to be willing to move that number up with what the market is, otherwise, he's gonna go. And again, small towns suck, okay? The crap you put up with, and some people can attest to all this, from all over the place, it doesn't matter who, and it's not fun, it's a thankless job. So, I mean, bigger towns, bigger cities, it's a little bit better, believe it or not. You still have the same kind of stuff, but it's a little bit more structured or diluted maybe, but you actually have more professionals that are running the town that help limit some of that stuff. A lot of them have unions, which again, police departments, fire departments, a lot of them the bigger departments are union shops. They help protect them to a certain degree from some of this BS that they have to put up with at the small town level. So I'm just saying, but you said that I have to defend the employees that are here, they are qualified, and I just wanna make that distinction.
No, Chris, I get what you're saying, I do. But
No, I mean, like,
the problem is that if you don't have a good, decent salary, you're not gonna get applicants that are qualified.
right,
And so we're trying to put people in place that are gonna stay here,
Right,
okay, because you're right. Jen is our longest term employee, there's a lot of, when Sue left, and that was based on retirement,
right,
a ton of knowledge left with her, so when you're in these small town, you remember things happen.
yeah,
If you just keep rotating every couple of years, you lose all that knowledge, you lose all that, from Alfred, you have a ton of knowledge.
yep, you do.
And the minute you leave, That knowledge is
They're
with
already
you.
talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's-
11 months left.
So I mean, it's.
You're right,
So we're,
especially in small towns.
Yeah.
so we're trying to make sure we're getting people that are gonna stay here a while, but if we wanna stay, if we want them to stay, we gotta take care of them.
You gotta remember the history and a lot of stuff that you would know that no one would know.
And it's not something you can teach.
No, you can't teach it.
So I mean, that was the board's priority, one of the board's priority this year was to make sure we took care of our people, because we just hired some good people here, we want them to stay. But yeah, guess what, it costs money. I hear you, I wish it didn't, I wish everybody would volunteer, you know, like it was 50 years ago, everybody's it isn't that way anymore, no matter how much you want it to be that way, it's not that way
I think
anymore.
what a small town has to think about more seriously is how to get more income into
Right.
the municipal government. Yeah.
We have a new
You mean
Dunkin'
like a town
Donuts.
manager?
Yes, yay.
Oh, we
But
got a whole
the,
bunch of new permits coming.
But what you're doing with the rebound,
Or,
The
that should have been done
It's just
years
like
ago.
our
Yeah,
meeting.
I think that's gonna help, I really do, I think
Just
this'll.
saying.
Oh, yeah, it definitely
It's
will
got to
help.
help.
Do we have anything else?
Sorry.
no? We
I
done?
make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second it. All in favor?
I can vote now.
Yes, and you can. And you can make a motion. Yes, I can. Legitimate.
No, I know that, I just need to make that.
Yeah.
I know that. I mean, I know who was there, yeah, like Brian Paul. Yeah, oh yeah.
That's all I was.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, I got it. There you go. Hey, who would you know, no different, I gotta defend my.
You find it,
No, I said the hard.
because Sarah says he's going.
So, my
Either
appointment.
you're wrong or she's wrong. No.
Just talked to Jen, scheduled the class, so. That was my point.
She said,
Good night, all.
and why they sent it.
Nice shirts.
And they said, because I don't know who made that decision. It wasn't me and it wasn't the board. I don't know who made that decision. And she said, well, I don't know either. And she said, he had emailed